Hey, what is going on, guys? We got ourselves some breaking news here. It's being reported in all the big major newspaper publications. It says right here, breaking, the World Health Organization has declared an official end to the global COVID-19 health emergency. So basically, they're not necessarily declaring that COVID is over. They're declaring that the pandemic is over, like the wide stream panic. That's kind of the way that they're explaining it here. Let's go ahead and read this because I have a lot to say. I definitely think that this COVID thing exposed a lot. You know what I mean? Like, it took a lot of people's trust away from the government, including mine. I thought that the way that the government handled it was bad. It wasn't the worst ever, you know what I mean? But it was very bad. And I think that the impact of COVID and how the government handled it is what led to the rise of certain personalities like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., right? Isn't it? Yeah, I think it's Robert F. Kennedy, but whatever. Yeah, RFK. He's literally running for president right now, and he's polling in double digits. And part of the thing that helped him rise to prominence, rise to fame, was he spoke to how a lot of people felt about how the government handled COVID-19 and the rushing of the vaccines. And keep in mind, folks, there's like 30% of the country that never, ever took the vaccine. You know what I mean? Like, there's still a lot of people who refuse to take it. They're not taking it. And now it turns out that some of those people might have actually been right to take the vaccine. Because if you remember, when COVID first came out, and again, I get it. You don't know this virus like that. So it's hard to give guidance or anything when you don't know, right? I get it. But if you guys remember, when the virus first happened, like in 2020, March of 2020, and you had the lockdowns and everything, they made it seem like it was the worst thing ever. Like you were just going to die, and a lot of people were going to die. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people did die. It was a very serious thing. But my point is, they tried to make it seem like if you didn't take the vaccine, everybody else will get infected and the pandemic would never end. Do you guys remember that? They literally said this. This was literally the messaging from the government. They were literally trying to tell people, if you refuse this vaccine, you're going to be the reason why the pandemic never ends because you're refusing to take the vaccine. Fast forward a year later, we literally got the World Health Organization saying the pandemic's over. So that was another lie. They told you that if you took the vaccine, if you don't take the vaccine, you're going to be responsible for the pandemic continuing and a lot more people are going to die, blah, blah, blah. Well, that didn't happen. A lot of people did not take the vaccine and the pandemic still ended. So that's one thing that I wanted to talk about. But let's just go ahead and read a little bit of an article. COVID is no longer a global public health emergency, the World Health Organization said Friday. The WHO issued the declaration more than 3 years ago on January 30th of 2020. WHO Director General, I cannot say his name, said he made the decision following a recommendation from the World Health Organization's Emergency Committee, which met on Thursday for the 15th time. I have accepted the advice. It is therefore with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency. For more than a year, the pandemic has been on a downward trend, with population immunity increasing from vaccination and infection, mortality decreasing, and the pressure on health systems easing. Now, remember, this is so funny because they literally tried to tell people that if you guys get it. This trend has allowed most countries to return to life as we knew it before COVID-19. However, he noted that worldwide, someone died of COVID every 3 minutes last week, a figure that only includes reported deaths. The worst thing any country could do now is to use this news as a reason to let down its guard, to dismantle the system it has built, or to send a message to its people that COVID-19 is nothing to worry about. See, this is the problem with the government. The government is so out of touch with reality and what everybody feels because, to be honest with you, and I think most of you guys would agree with this, most Americans, I would say the average person, like over 50% of the entire American population thought that COVID was over like last year. I'm not joking. Like, I think we felt that COVID's been over for a while now. Like, they can come out with their official announcements and their press releases and all that all they want, but the average person felt this way for a year now. So they're late. We felt this way 9-10 months ago. We've been thought that the pandemic was over. We've been living our lives and going out and going to grab a bite to eat and going to the beach. Like we've been felt this way. Folks stopped wearing their masks like a year ago. Like, I feel like once the mask came off, for me personally, psychologically, I felt that the pandemic was over. Once I could safely say that I didn't have to wear that stupid mask anymore, which I hated every second of it. Once I could safely say that I could go somewhere and not wear my mask and I could go on vacation, because I literally went to Hawaii in February and didn't wear my mask. In 2022, I went on a few vacations. I went to different states, didn't wear my mask. I felt that the pandemic was over then. Like, I'm actually surprised. I feel like I'm not the only one. I feel like there are probably people out there who are shocked, like, wait, COVID-19 was still a global pandemic? I thought that ended like a year ago. You know what I mean? But anyway, I just kind of want to speak about the legacy of what happened and kind of what we can learn here, right? And I don't know if the government's ever going to learn their lesson, but they screwed up big time. Because what the government did, and this is why censorship is so dangerous, instead of having real public discussions with popular people on social media, because that's really what I think the government should do. That's my opinion. I know people don't agree. They're like, oh, you're platforming conspiracy people, or whatever you want to say. But I just think that if you really think that these people are so wrong, then how about you bring them up on the stage and debate them? They've already got big followings anyway. Just because you censor them doesn't mean that their followings are going to go away. They still have big followings because they're articulating and speaking on how a lot of people already feel. And one of the main criticisms that I have is that when the pandemic first happened, there were a lot of people out there with common sense who were like, yeah, I think it's BS when they say, oh, this came from a bat. That doesn't really make sense. This thing had to have come from a laboratory. This had to have been some type of secret biochemical warfare going on that the Chinese were working on or something, and it got leaked. That's what a lot of people were thinking. And guess what? You guys might not remember this, but I do. If you said this in 2020 and 2021, guess what? You would get shadow banned. You would get banned. You would get your account taken away. If you ever spoke like this on social media and you gained a big following from doing that, you would literally get shadow banned for it. And guess what? Fast forward to 2023, what have we now found out? There was literally a Senate committee intelligence report that came out where they basically broke down that, yeah, we really strongly believe that COVID leaked from a lab. I mean, as a matter of fact, the evidence is so profound at this point, I think you'd have to be crazy to think that COVID didn't come from a lab. If you look at all the evidence that's out there, literally just go on Google and type in COVID lab leak. Just type that in and see what pops up. We're not talking about random Johnny Bravo's blog or something like that. We're talking about real verified sources, like the actual Senate made a report on it and literally exposed that it pretty much happened. One of the government agencies talked about it too. I don't know if it was the FBI or not, but I know one of the government agencies came out and basically said, yeah, this thing came from a lab too. And it's just so crazy because when you spoke on these things way back when, they basically painted you out to be a crazy or a conspiracy theorist. And, you know, the entire handling of this was just so bad. It really was. So that's really the legacy of what you got. I don't know why the government is so late in saying that this thing is over when everybody already felt that way. But I mean, okay. I guess the only thing I can leave you guys with is what took you guys so long. Like, we thought it was over like years ago, you know, but yeah, those are my thoughts. That whole COVID thing was insane. This is something that's going to be looked back years later and studied on, like, what the heck was the government thinking? Why did things happen the way that they did? And again, you guys know me. I am strongly against censorship. This once again proves what happens when you censor people. Look at RFK. He's literally polling in double digits. They're going to try and do everything they can to make sure that he doesn't win and that he doesn't debate Biden. But obviously, there's something there with this guy. The fact that he's polling in double digits and he has a huge following because he was condemning and he was speaking out against how the government handled the COVID-19 pandemic. So anyway, those are my thoughts. That's all I really got to say. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.